Hitesh heads the EHS division for VIP Industries, and he has more than 16 plus years of experience in the EHS domain, out of which 7 years he has spent in nuclear as well as other industries, and 8 years of his 16 years experience is dedicated to manufacturing related industries. Hitesh, welcome to the EHS Summit.
Thank you, Aman.
Fantastic. So, Hitesh, right now, everyone's talking about how do we now get back to work, make sure that our people are safe, our industries are following the standards, and I would say the standards have got more stringent, and we are seeing a lot of accidents, a lot of mistakes happening in a lot of industries around us. And you're going to share with us what the post lockdown scenario looks like from an EHS perspective. So, tell us a little bit more about this topic and why should EHS fraternity, especially the leadership, pay attention to this content?
Over here, I will first of all thank the forum for giving this opportunity to me to speak on this forum. That's really good. In this topic, which I'm going to take over, I'm going to give a facts of COVID-19, which is there, simple facts which are there. I'm also going to elaborate on the proactive measures which we are going to take for a person so that he stays away from this virus. And then the third one will be on the reactive approach, that if at all someone gets this virus, then how to deal with these things. So this is going to be on 3 phases. That is a roadmap for this presentation which we're going to do. So this will cover the entire process of a person from coming out from his house to shop and coming back to his again home. So what is the process and what are the safety measures he has to follow at each steps, that will be discussed in this presentation. So that's what I would like to give you at this point of time.
Fantastic. Hitesh, before we get started, I want to get a quick sense from you. Do you think after lockdown, the role of the EHS personnel in the organization has become even more important?
I feel that he is the most important person right now, because he is the person who gives us the direction, what exactly the organization has to do, what are the insights of the legal requirements, and also how a person has to go out and take his precautions. So his say is very important, and he is having a vital role at this point of time. That is my say.
Fantastic. And Hitesh, I know that from the kind of experience that you bring to the table, there are, you would look at a transition like this from two lenses. One is, adhering to the new compliances. And second, the human factor. How do we deal with people? How do we deal with behavioral style issues? So, I would request you to share your insights and your experience of what is it from a human standpoint that you have, seen kind of works in this post-COVID lockdown situation. Before we jump into the content, Desh, tell us a little bit about what has been your insight in the past few months from a more human side of bringing in this transition, bringing in new compliances. How are people taking it?
In this view regarding the things which are right now with the employees, the people are frightened about and fear are there among that what is exactly to be done, because everything is new. It's also new to a EHS professional also, because this is something which is a new thing. But coming upon this, if what I can say, that if you can give that assurance to the people with proper steps, like what we have done in our industries, we have made safe operating procedures for each and every organized operations, and we have followed the step-by-step approach to make sure that the employees, when they're going to the offices or going to the factories, they feel that now when I interact with them, they're feeling that all precautions which are required as an organization or the steps which are required for their safety have been done. And this way what happens, the behavior of the people starts, because they come in a comfort level and they see that these precautions which are there, which are required, are being taken, and these people are now more comfortable while doing the job, and the fear which was there from there to work in this scenario has been slightly coming down. That's what the survey which we are doing about this.
Fantastic, fantastic, Hitesh. So with that, I will, switch myself off from here, and
Okay.
please walk us through your content and tell us about your experience of how you've been able to manage it at VIP.
Okay, Aman, thank you so much. Okay, so once again, hello everyone. The topic today is going to be on the new normal post lockdown. So as you can see on the screen itself, there are employees or there are people who are seeing the world in a different way. They do not know exactly what exactly they have to do when they step out from their houses or step out for going of the work. So I am going to tell you what some of the facts which are there, because understanding the why is important to make sure that we take proper actions, and then we take these things so that we implement these things, and that becomes more effective to make sure that this does not happen to anybody as an infection. So the thing which is knowing about that, the fact is it's already clear that the infection is going to stay with us and it's already a widespread. Okay, this is from the WHO which is come, and when this is a fact that it is going to stay with us, we have to deal with this situation. So we have to see how we can take care of this situation around us, and the same time it does not affect us in this matter. So if you see the statistics right now in the world today, you can see it's almost 1 crore 87 in the worldwide situation, and in India it is already 19 lakhs which have been already affected. Some of them have already recovered, but still there's a 40,499 people who have lost their lives due to COVID-19 infection, and this becomes a worry part for us. And this on this note, I would like to give you this insight that how we can save ourselves in this situation. So let us see a background check that how this spread happens and what are the modes of transmission of this virus. So first of all, this is called as a reproductive number, basic reproductive number at R naughts. So it says that if one person is having a COVID-19 infection, it probably takes he infects or spreads this disease to 2 or 4 people in this scenario, and then the other things which have been infected goes and spreading the otherwise. And this is why there's such a widespread according all across the country. And this is just for your understanding that how the spread is happening over here, right? Now let us see what is the mode of transmission, because this is important. If you understand the mode of transmission, then we can have implementation on this part. So let us see what is the first mode of transmission, that is person to person, that is droplet infection. For example, a healthy person is in front of a COVID-19 person, for example. Okay. Now, a COVID-19 person, when he speaks, when he sneezes, there are some droplets which are falling through his mouth and his nose. So these droplets, when they fall on objects, on a human body, when it's front of him. So when this person touches this droplets which are fallen on the objects on his fingers, the virus is there, which is present. And when he touches his eyes, nose, and mouth, this virus enters inside his body. So this gets attached to the mucous membranes. Now, what is a mucous membrane? Mucous membrane is the portion where you can see in the eye, white portion, the inner side of the nose, and also the inner side of the mouth. So these are the areas where the mucous membranes are contained. And this virus goes and attach over there, and then slowly it takes over your body and then affects your body. That is the first mode of transmission. The second mode of transmission is fomites. Now, what is fomite? Fomite is any object which has the droplets or the infection of the virus on it. For example, there are door handles, there are chair handles. It might be also a toilet flush, or it might be a tap which commonly used. So things or objects which are commonly used come under the consideration of fomite. So there might be something which is there on it, and when you touch it, and then it can come to you when you touch your eyes, nose, and mouth. There's one more thing which is coming across, that is the what I can say airborne. It spreads from airborne. But what is the study which they have told right now, that this airborne is possible when there's an enclosed environment. Okay, it stays for some while over there, and if you are in an enclosed environment and you do not have a mask and then you enter it, there is a possibility in that situation, but that is a rare possibility, because when you are entering or when you're going to interact, there's a recommendation of mask at any point of time, so that when two persons are there in a room. So that is things which goes about the mode of transmission which is there. Now, why COVID-19 has become so problematic? Okay, so there are other things which have been taken care, but COVID has become problematic for the world and for the country. So what is there that we have to understand from this? So first of all, this virus infects the upper and lower respiratory tract. So this becomes a problem because it affects the respiratory tract and becomes difficult for a person to take it in. So that's why it is problematic. The second is highly contagious. So it forms in a droplet infection. Human to human transmission is the next one, because whenever you're going to go outside, there will be people around you, and we do not know the status of people, whether they have it or do not have it. So that becomes also a problematic situation to contain it. It has a long incubation period. So if a person has it, he has to wait to have 14 days to understand whether he really has it or not, whether any symptoms are coming or not. So it becomes very difficult for you to track 14 days for each person to see whether this is coming up really or not. There's also a long survival time for this virus. So I'll give you some examples on that. That on a paper it stays for 3-4 hours, right? On a carton box it stays for 24 hours. And if you're using a mask, and if a person has a COVID-19, this mask, inner side of the mask, will contain this virus live for 7 days. So there's a period of 3 hours to 7 hours where this virus can be on different objects, and this becomes it more problematic to control this virus. As you know about asymptomatic carriers, I will have in the subsequent slides to describe it more in detail. And right now we know that we do not have proper vaccination for that. We are still on the go, and we hope that it comes as soon as possible. Now, if you know that these are the problems, there are mainly two problems in hand to understand it in a detail. First, that it is a rapid spread. Okay, so large population is having this kind of virus across our residences, outside of your house. And the second thing is that the lockdown has come to an end, and we have to step out and have to go in this world and work with these things. Now, when these two things are as a problem, what is the things that we have to do? The first, that you have to protect yourself, then you have to protect your colleague, and you have to protect your family, right? Now, if to have to do these things, we have to understand what are the methods, or what are the things that what we can do. So I've made two cardinal rules. So cardinal rule number one is every person is corona positive around you unless proved otherwise. So we have to consider, when you step out of your house, you have to consider that each person which you're going to talk with or you're going to interact with might have coronavirus. Okay. What will happen due to that? You will have a social distancing maintained, you will have a mask, which will help you and also the person which is in front of you. So both of them are benefited with that. And the second thing, which is a cardinal rule, is that if you do not know the cleaning status of an object, consider it as a fomite. So if you do not know, for example, you are going through a bus, you are catching off the handles, or you're touching any kind of object which is outside and you do not know the cleaning process, let us consider as a fomite and take actions as soon as you touch that object, and clean your hands as soon as possible, right? Now, if you talk about mask has become our new friend. Okay, so mask, what is the things that if mask has to be used, it has to be minimum 3 layers protection mask. Okay, so if you have a 1 layer or 2 layer protection mask, please replace it with minimum 3 layer protection mask. It might be a reusable mask, it might be a cloth mask, it might be a disposable mask. That is not a question, but 3 layer protection mask is mandatory, or it is required to make sure that this does not go to your body. Now, why shall we use a mask? Now, if nobody uses a mask, or two persons are considered and both of them are not using a mask, there are 70% chances that this virus can go to that person. If one of them uses a mask, there is 5% chances. And if both of them use the mask, there is only 1.5% chances that this can go to one person to another. So that's why it becomes important, and that's why the government and all organizations are telling that mask is mandatory, compulsory when you are in a group of people and while interacting with each other. Now, it's all that we are going to go outside in this world, you're going to work, and then you're going to come back to your houses, right? And this is the point where it is very important that everybody might have something in the mind, that whether the outside virus which is there in the outside periphery, whether it is going to come with me inside the family. Okay, so whether it is going to be with my children or my family members when I come inside. So I'm going to tell you some practical steps which can be followed to make sure that this virus does not enter your house. Okay. Now, whenever you're going to come return to your house, when you at your doorstep, please remove your shoes outside your house. Do not enter with your shoes inside. There is a possibility that the shoes having this virus which are there from the outside world. So please keep it outside your house. When you enter your house, I recommend that you must have a safety corner. Okay, what is a safety corner? It might be a small tray, okay, or a carton box where you can keep your belongings. So when you're coming from outside, you can remove your pen, your wallet, your keys, and keep it inside that tray. You must also have alcohol based sanitizer, a cloth, and also a diluted sodium hypochlorite solution. And there must be one bucket which is having soap solution liquid, soap solution water inside. Now what shall we, how shall we use these things? So first, when you enter, you can empty your pockets, put it in the tray. Then you can put your water bottle or your tiffin box which is there, you can dip it inside the bucket which is there, inside the soap solution for 15-20 minutes. Then what you can do, you can clean your things which are there in the tray with the alcohol based sanitizer. Okay, so you clean it with that cloth and keep it over there. If you have a bag which you have there, you can spray the diluted sodium hypochlorite solution on it, and then you can keep it over there. If you do not require the materials or the things to be taken inside, please keep it at the entry itself. So do not take it inside. Okay. Now after that, you have to directly go to the bathroom. Okay. Tell somebody to open the door so that it does not become a fomite at that point. And when you go inside, remove all your clothes and soak it inside warm water and soap solution water, dip it inside, and take bath from head to toe. Okay, after doing that, get ready, and then when you can meet your family members or children, that becomes safe that you can then meet them. So this is the thing which has to be done on every time you get exposed to the new normal or new world which is there outside. This will, if you do it in a proper disciplined way every time when you go out, there is very rare chances that this virus will affect your family members or children. Okay, this is something which is a practical steps which I would like to give you on my practical experience which I do, and also from experts which they are following in this situation. The next thing is regarding shopping and traveling. So this is also two very vital areas. Like we have to go for shopping after some time, right? Because we have to bring some groceries, we have to bring some vegetables. So there are something which I would like to give some tips on this part. The first is that if you are, if you do not want, if you do not want to go to the market unnecessarily, please avoid it. Please avoid going to the market. And what we can do is to plan what is required for the next 7 days. So you make a list of 7 days, go to the market and take it at one time, so that we do not have to go unnecessarily and expose yourself over there. If you have a vendor who can bring this material to your doorsteps, that is a second option which you can really explore it. That will be really safe. Now, for example, you have brought the vegetables and what I can say fruits at your home. So there will be a question the how to disinfect these things and whether it will be safe to consume it directly or what shall I clean it off. So I will give you three options over here. The first option is regarding that we can put baking soda, 1 table baking soda in warm water. Okay, that is one option which you can do, and then you can dip the things inside. The second option is that we can have a pinch of potassium permanganate in 1 liter of water, and the third option is that we can use Suma tablets, D4 tablets, okay, in 7 liter of water. So this is some of the options which you can explore, which will be useful to you for cleaning or disinfecting the vegetables and fruits. Correct. Now there is one more suggestion that if you want to consume fruits at this point of time, you can choose fruits which are having covers. So it might be banana, it might be apple, or it might be papaya, or it might be what I can say. So this kind of fruits which are having covers will help you that when you remove the skin from it or remove the cover from it, you can consume the inner side of things. So that are more safer in this time of consumption of food if you want. It depends upon you which fruits you want, but this is some kind of suggestion which I would like to give you over here. The next is about groceries. So groceries nowadays comes in packets. So the packet same way you can also clean it through that solution and then keep it in your places where you are you can consume it. So before going to the market, there are two things which are really basic, that mask has to be done, and you must also carry a hand sanitizer which is there in a pocket sanitizer with you, because you do not know when you're going to touch any fomite, and in case you touch it, you must have something in hand to clean your hands as soon as possible, right? The next topic is on traveling. Okay, so traveling is something that if you can travel, if the best way is that you travel alone. Okay, and when you travel alone, there is no need of using a mask inside the whole car. But if there is someone who is going to travel with you, who is going to sit behind you, then both of them has to use a mask. That is a mandatory requirement. Okay. Second thing, let us see about the public transport. For example, we're taking Ola, Uber over here. So if you're booking a vehicle which is there, so when he comes to your doorstep, you have to check some things. The first of all, whether that person or the driver is having a mask. You can also ask for some symptoms, whether he has some temperature or some kind of cough. Everything you can ask him. If you feel that he's comfortable, I can you can then go and board the vehicle. You can clean the place where you're going to sit. So you can clean it by sanitizer, and then you can sit over there. And then what we can do that, try not to touch the inner side of the vehicle. Okay, when you complete your you come to your destination, then move out from the car, and then you leave the car. Now in this process, if you feel that something is not according to the requirement, he's coughing in between, so please leave that vehicle from that point of time and take a new vehicle that is recommended, right? Now if you talk about two wheelers, so if a person is have to drive a two wheeler, then he has to his body is exposed to the atmosphere. So I will recommend that he can use a raincoat, which is nowadays we have to use it. So raincoat will cover his entire body. He has to use a helmet with a visor, so it also get protected. And he can use hand gloves for driving this two wheeler. Now, before driving or getting on this two wheeler, he has to clean two areas. One is the handles where he's going to touch his hands, and the second is the seat. So these two areas has to be cleaned every time he's going to start using that vehicle. So this is on the traveling part. Now we have talked about home safety, that what is exactly to be done when you enter the home. We have done about shopping, traveling. There is something which is very useful, that is also on the family. Now in these days what happening is that the children which are there, the routine has been changed, so they are not allowed to play with other students or other players. They're not allowed to go down because of this scenario. So they have become, they have the stress level also sometimes have given high. They have become silent. Some children have become hyperactive. Now as a parent, we must do something with over here. We have to first of all understand that, you have to make them understand that what is exactly going outside in the world and why we are not allowing them to go outside. Okay, that has to be told to them in that language, in a very clear tone. And then you have to also listen to them, what is their needs. You have to understand them, you have to comfort them, and then you have to reassure them that this is a temporary phase. You have to follow these rules because this can happen. So this reassurance is really required to the children, to make sure that they remain calm, they know what is exactly going on, and they know why they are doing it. So this is very important as a parent you can do. I will recommend that you can also have a change in the routine if you want, as per your requirements. Okay, please restrict your media information as the least. I recommend you have media or news 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the night. That is sufficient for you to understand what's going on in the day. So that is it, that you can do it. So please restrict your media information. That will lesser the anxiety, the stress on you, on your children. That is really important. If you can do some breathing techniques or exercise, yoga, that is fantastic for your health. And try to find some indoor games with your children rather just sticking on TVs and mobiles. Please play with them to have this bonding, and that will be really helpful in this pandemic, on this situation. Now, these are the guidelines which we have made for our organization. It's all covered about Arogya Setunen. This one point gives us the entire thing, what a employee has to do when he has to go to the office. That is made for our organization employees. There are some basic things of behavior guidelines from WHO, which are common guidelines, which says about using a mask. You have social distancing. You have hand hygiene is very important. Do not spit all around. Okay, don't have gatherings across. Okay, be empathetic and self monitoring your health. Now self monitoring your health is becomes very important. Do not neglect whatever is there as a symptom. If you have something which is staying for next 2 3 days with you, please consult a doctor and find out whether it is really a symptom of COVID-19 or it's a general symptom which is there. But getting it clarified will help you to take actions on time to make sure you are more safer in this scenario, right? Now let us talk about contact. Now what is a contact? If you say about contact, contact is that a healthy person gets in a scenario or in a place where he is near to a patient having COVID-19. It might be near to him, it might be in the same room. So when he comes in interaction of this person who is having COVID-19, it becomes a contact. So over here, there are two contacts. There is a high risk contact and there is a low risk contact. What is a high risk contact? I will give you some examples when you can see that, and I will give you why this high risk contact and low risk contact must be known to you. If you know the risk contact which has happened to you, then it will be most important for the doctor. So if you're going to tell this doctor that I have a high risk contact, the line of action of taking is very simple for him. Whether you have to go for a test, you do not have to go for a test. It depends upon the risk contact, right? Now, what is a risk contact? That if you have touched the patient's fluids, for example, blood, vomit, saliva, urine, if you have come in contact with them, then there is a high risk contact. If you have cleaned their clothes or dishes of that patient, it is a high risk contact. If you are staying in the same room without any partition, that is a high risk contact. And if you are coming near to him in 1 meter distance without protection like mask or anything, then there is also a high risk contact, right? And if you talk about low risk contact, is something sharing the same place. Okay, so that is a low risk contact. And second is that traveling in the same. For example, you are traveling from a flight. Okay, there is a social distancing which is done, but the vessel which is there, you are shared the same vessel. Okay, so the risk of that is low, the possibility is low. So these are the two things which we must understand of how the high risk and low risk has been done. Now this is something which I have made for 8 pointers which will take you, if anybody in your family comes across a situation that he's been tested with COVID positive. Okay, so what he has to do or she has to do. Now, in this scenario, this will help you to be prepared and not in a panic situation. So please be prepared for this scenario. I hope anybody does not get this, but if at all it comes in that scenario, you must be prepared for that. So first step is that identify a room in your house which will be used as an isolation ward. So if there's a attached toilet, bathroom with this, that is the best thing. If at all it's not there, even though the isolation ward or the room has to be identified in your room. The second thing is that we must discuss this with your family members and children, that this scenario, if anything has this COVID-19, these are the things we are going to follow. So the family are also are knowing about the situation, and they've been knowing what are the actions which are going to be taken in case of this scenario. So they are aware of that things. The third thing is that we have to keep at least 15 days of ration in your house ready. Okay, so this will be a backup plan for you. The fourth thing, that you identify a person who is going to make the food and also going to serve that person. Okay, I don't want everybody in the family to get exposed with that patient. So that person has to be identified, the one person who's going to go and have an interaction with him. The next point is that you have to identify your family doctor or the doctor you're going to speak with, and the contact detail of the doctor must be ready with you. So any kind of emergency, you must be knowing that where is the doctor number, and you can contact him and take actions as soon as possible, right? I recommend that you can have two thermometers and two steam inhalers. So why two? So one is for the patient and another is for the person or the family members to test themselves. And steam inhalers will help them to have, if any breathing problems are there, that will be really helpful to make sure that they have it. The last two is regarding identify the lab. If the doctor says that go test yourself over here, so where are you going to go? Which is the nearest lab in front of you or nearby you? The contact details has to be there with you, and you must go to the lab as soon as possible and get yourself tested. And the last one is that follow your home remedies in case you are in isolation, breathing exercise, and have normal diet. So this will really help you to have a proactive measures and action plan to make sure that in case of emergency, this can be a really fruitful things to make sure that you take care of the situation and your family member will be safe in soon time. Now let us understand of a asymptomatic person. Asymptomatic person, I will give an example. For example, a person goes to visit some of the patient in a hospital. Okay, and when he returns back after 2 days, he comes to know that that person who has visited that patient is been reported with COVID-19 positive. Okay, now this person who has met him 2 days back is in a problem that whether I have got these things or not. So this person who does not know and there is no symptoms right now at this position, but he has a contact with him. This person comes in the asymptomatic person. Now if a asymptomatic person comes, or if symptomatic has to deal with him, we have to do that, we have to put him in the isolation area which is already decided, call the doctor and tell him what was the risk contact to him. Okay, the doctor will take a call whether he have to go for a test or he has to get himself quarantined for 14 days. Now, in this 14 days, if this person does not get any symptoms for 14 days, that person can go and do his normal duty. After that, there is no required for any test required over here because he does not have any symptoms. But if that person starts getting any symptoms in next 7 8 days in between these 14 days, then the doctor has to be coming in picture. He will guide whether you have to go for this test, and when you get it tested, if it comes positive, then you have to go to the isolation ward of the government medical centers, or you can get isolated at your home as per the suggestion or recommendation from the medical government medical officers. Okay, so this is how we will come to know that what is to be done in a situation in that case. So this will really help us to be prepared to take care of that situation in advance. Okay, so everybody will be in that situation that when is this going to end, or is there any end point of this. Now the herd immunity over here, you can see over here that when this vaccination will come out, there's a community which will be given this vaccination, so more and more people will be getting this vaccination, and that's why this virus which will be there will be ineffective with that person who has getting this vaccination, and then the curve will be slightly bending, and then it will come to an end. But this is a long time period, at least I will say at least next 7 8 months is there, which is forecasted. But I'm hoping that we come out from the situation as soon as possible. But still then, till the numbers fall down, I request you to make sure that these systems or these learnings which are there, practical learnings, you follow it, so that you get away or you stay away from this virus until you give it safe. Right? So this was from my side. I would like to take some questions, and I open the forum to you. So thank you. So I will try to end with this session with that everything passes, joy, pain, moment of triumph, the sigh of despair. So nothing lasts forever, not even this. So I'm sure that we will come out from this situation and be more healthy and more safe. Thank you so much for your time and patience.
Thank you so much, Hitesh. Very, very insightful. I think the whole presentation gave us a complete roundup of what is, how is it spreading and what one needs to do in case of, a spread like this happens. Tell us a little bit about, how is it that if a worker in the organization at the factory is tested positive, how is it that we deal with him, especially your organization? What kind of a support do we provide to a person like that? And what are some best practices that you know?
First of all, what we have done in our organization, in our factories, we have layers of protection over here. So first of all, we are testing workers. So we have told the workers who are nearby, rather having a local transport, the workers which are nearby who can come by walking, that kind of workers I'm selected to come in the factory. The first
Okay.
step is that we are having a testing of the thermal testing which has been done. Okay, the second thing, we also check about the SpOT of this oxygen level of each and every employee. We have a self declaration form of the workers, and after he comes inside, there is a sanitization of his hands which has been done, and also we have a medical checkup of nurses which are there. So if you find someone that the things are, the symptoms are sometime which is there, we tell him to guide them to the nurses. They take this, if they find it safe, then he's also entering the factory, otherwise he's sent back from there. So mandatory mask is there for everybody. Now in case in this scenario, after taking all these precautions, if somebody feels that there are some symptoms over here, so what we do is make sure that that person is monitored. So we have cameras to monitor the people, we have interactive sessions in between, we have microphones, or what you can say, public address systems, to give them alerts at every each and time of every shift, so that they use mask, keep social distancing. That kind of things are really things, and monitoring is thing. We have set up the what I can say, set up the working area in such a way that the social distancing is maintained. So we have redesigned the whole shop floor in such a way that the distance are maintained between two people, and minimum required people who are required, that only have been called. So in case if you are asked that if anybody, there's nobody still now which has been found, but if someone goes and comes in situation that this kind of scenario is there, what will be our line of action? That that person will be first of all treated, will be given to a place, and that area where he was, we will be having a 48 hours backup, that who has he met, what are the things he have met, which other people he have gone and interacted. So those people will also be taken into quarantine and be checked, and will be also stayed at home. They will not be allowed to come to the factory for the next 14 days, and this person will be treated, and that area where he was working was disinfected for entire day. So that kind of precautions will be done, and we'll also inform the legal authorities on this point of time. So this is how we have planned, but hope that nothing comes across, and still for God grace nothing has been across we have done.
Fantastic. There's one quick question that I have is that, the authorities, by the way of supervisors or a HR or EHS professional, cannot be around, cannot be omnipresent at every space within the factory. So you mentioned that you're doing a monitoring of the video feed of the complete factory. So is that manned by an observer who's constantly observing social distancing, or are you using some kind of a technology there like AI to figure that out?
Right now, we are not having any AI because, first of all, a basic thing what we have done, we have trained our all employees from workers to management staff. Almost, I have conducted various sessions on it to make them aware of what is the scenario and what are the steps they have to do. So now at this point of time, most of the employees in the factories, in the offices know what is the exactly requirement of this. So they are self taking their care of their self. That is one thing. Second thing, we have random checks on these things whether things are in place or not, because at workmen or sometimes they are contract workmen. So we have to make sure that we are in the toes to make sure that these things are in follow. So yes, follow up is required, monitoring is required, but still now there is no any AI device to get alert on these things. We have just have this manual intervention or supervision monitoring through surveillance cams and everything.
Absolutely, and I think it's still better than placing a person who's physically observing. I think
Yes.
one person can manage multiple camera feeds at one time and create triggers if something's not going. Fantastic stuff, Hitesh. Very well-rounded presentation. I think very, very informative. And the way you had presented the content, it was, I would say a complete exhaustive roundup of what is happening, how are things going, and what are some precautions to be taken. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us at EHS Summit, Hitesh.
Thank you, Aman, for your great time and audience. I would like to thank you, everyone, and be safe.
Fantastic, Hitesh.